You didn't tell me. Now I know.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Okay, start from the top. Can I please have your full name and your occupation and your date of birth?
Okay, my name is Tammy Gomez. I am a writer and producing poet and theater artist. And what was the last question?
Your birthday.
Oh yeah, 9/30/62.
Thank you. And if your family's not originally from Fort Worth, can you tell me where they originate, whether it's somewhere in the U.S. or a foreign country?
Oh yeah. My parents are both from West Texas, and I was born in Stamford, Texas, in Jones County.
Stamford, Texas. And you grew up where?
I grew up in Fort Worth. My parents relocated, heading east because they wanted us to grow up in a bigger city, not in Stamford, which may not even have a proper stoplight at this point. It's kind of town where, if you go to Sonic on the weekend, I'm probably related to every other person there, including the workers. So we moved here in about 1965. My parents bought a house in South Fort Worth, which is where my mother still lives.
Okay. And where are your parents originally from? Do you know the towns they're originally from?
My mother was born in Gonzales, Texas, and my father, I think, was born in Anson, Texas.
Okay. By Abilene, correct?
Abilene, Stanford, Haskell, all those little towns.
Yeah. Okay. And do you know where your grandparents were from?
The same area. And, well, actually, I think my great-grandmother's from Gonzales area.
Okay.
So if you're trying to aim at Mexico, no. We're indigenous to this part of the land.
No, well, I'm wondering if your family's originally from far west Texas, South Texas, Mexico, New Mexico, since people moved around so often.
Not us, pretty much. Gonzales, which is near San Antonio,
Okay.
migrating to West Texas. That was on my mother's side. My father's side, as far as I know, were West Texas.
Okay, well, thank you.
As far back as I know.
And when you grew up here, what neighborhood did you mainly grow up in?
South Fort Worth, Seminary Hill specifically, in the shadow of the huge behemoth Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, which at the time I was living in that house was the largest theological Baptist seminary in the world. A block away from it.
In a theological seminary that had world influence with people that came from it. But in what schools did you go to?
My parents sent me to St. Andrew's Catholic School from K through 8. And my sister also went the whole time. My brother got kicked out.
And then what school did you go to?
And then after that, I turned down a scholarship to Nolan High School, which is the Catholic high school, because I wanted to have the kind of a regular, normal teenager experience and not be in a private school anymore. So I went to Pascal High School, which is, I guess, in Central Fort Worth, in the TCU area.
Okay, and then...
So I left there in '81. I graduated, and then I wanted to go to the best women's college the furthest south. And so I applied to several women's colleges, and I ended up at Goucher College in Towson, Maryland, just north of Baltimore.
Okay, and then after college, well, can I ask
I graduated in 1985 with a double major in psychology and pre-legal studies. And then I left. If you just ask me like 3 or 4 questions, I can speak seamlessly, but it's kind of jumpy the way we're doing it. Because I can almost guess what question you're going to ask me next. So I kind of felt like I want to keep going, if that's okay with you, because I have to leave soon. I graduated from college in 1985 with a double major in psychology and pre-legal studies. My professors really tried to get me to go to law school or grad school, but I felt not ready for that. So I returned to Texas, not to Fort Worth, but to Austin, where I became immersed in kind of the Austin experience with rock and roll and music and art and literature. And so that was my first taste of art as a way of life, not so much a career. And I've kind of cobbled together my adult life that way since then. Of course, having to make a living, I've found jobs here and there. I've been a live-in nanny in Aspen. I went to study permaculture or organic farming in Colorado and lived on organic farms in what's called the Roaring Fork Valley between Aspen and Glenwood Springs. I've lived in Mexico. I've traveled to Guanajuato, Oaxaca, Chiapas by myself, performed there, met other writers there. I've been to Kathmandu, Nepal, went up to see Mount Everest. And all these things figure in my work, my literary work, my artistic production. And it's allowed me a freedom that's like amazing for me. I think it's so important as a woman, a Latina woman, to just beyond learning abroad. It's almost like not letting any boundaries or borders confine me or keep me held to some locked positioning as far as like gender roles and professions. You have a degree, you should be a professional, you should be making this kind of money. I think it's important for at least some of us who have this newfound freedom and these choices and opportunities to explore the art-making world, because I think I'm also leaving a mark, and a lot of my colleagues remind me of that, and the scholars, I know scholars all over the country who are also very encouraging of the pathway that I've chosen. Sandra Cisneros is one of my mentors. She's very interested in publishing my work. I just got an email about that yesterday. She's going to create like a whole new imprint. It's going to be called Chincona Publications. So, these are amazing opportunities. So this is not about following along a path where so many have tread before. It's like breaking open the mold and trying on different shoes and walking in a way that really helps all of us grow to have more opportunities.
When did you come back to Fort Worth?
This very last time, it was after my trip to Nepal. I tend to return home when I've run out of funds. So I spent 3 months in Nepal in '99 and came back to Fort Worth, was living with my mom, got a job, and I thought, well, I'll get back up on my feet and then go to my next adventure. Will it be Chicago, Pilsen, all that area really appeals to me. Bay Area, I have a lot of Chicano, Latino colleagues there, writers and people working in the nonprofit sector. Because we're all about social activism. All of us are doing social activism as artists. But I ended up staying here, and I've been here ever since, 15 years. And I did speak with a literary arts director, Kevin Chen, and he advised me. He said, yeah, you could move to San Francisco, be one of many, or you could just go back to North Texas and plow that hard ground, but create some groundbreaking movement towards change in terms of Latino arts and culture. And that's what I feel like I'm doing here, opening up the space for more opportunity for others in this area.
Can I ask you how the city of Fort Worth influences your art, or how you take from the ambience of Fort Worth, and that's different than what would happen if you were in San Francisco or in Seattle and other West Coast cities?
Well, I learn from my colegas because they're often, they're out there on the front lines demonstrating, or they're creating really amazing, colorful, vibrant visual art campaigns to support, occupations and demonstrations on the ground. So that inspires me. And there's a lot of reasons why we need to be moving and shaking things up in this city still. And even though there have been some pretty positive and progressive movements. But now I have colleagues here, and I'm meeting kind of my tribe here, and that's really important. And they're people of all ages and ethnicities and backgrounds, and I like that feeling because I never felt that sense before in terms of moving towards progressive action, in terms of let's say, urban gas drilling and fracking, in terms of access to top administrative posts for people of color, working in the private sector, or even changing up things within the school administration of the Fort Worth ISD. Or something as simple and maybe seemingly not so necessary, but putting in urban gardens, and growing that as a movement. I have a friend who just helped set up some garden boxes on the rooftop of the YMCA this morning. And having him as a colleague and person I can interact with helps me to know, how I can plug in so that there are Latino voices and Latino decision makers working on that kind of front. Urban gardening, learning more about growing nutritional food, decolonizing our diet. That book just came out like a week ago, and that's really blowing up nationwide. But I'm a person locally who knows about it, so it's my duty, I feel, to share it with others in this city so that we all grow from the expertise and the knowledge base that I have access to.
Decolonizing as getting back to indigenous foodways, from whether it's indigenous people from South America, Mexico, or here in the core North America?
Exactly, yes, precisely.
Okay. And go ahead. Anything else you want to add that could relate to Fort Worth history or Mexican or Latino culture in Fort Worth, whether it's the past, whether how it's changing, or where you think it's going?
I think with a lot of the younger folks that I'm meeting, I am seeing already that evidence that they're not it's non-negotiable. This whole idea of let me just stay at the gate and wait to be tapped on the shoulder, and then I'll come through the gate when you're ready for me, when you need me, when you want me. Because I've often told younger women this: don't wait for somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, now it's your turn to talk, because you'll sit there waiting for like half your life. You have to kind of turn into the advocating self. You're advocating for yourself so that you can put yourself in the proper seat, so that you can have influence and be doing the work you're capable of doing, rather than waiting. And there are a lot of younger people doing that who are Latinos in the communities where I roam and have influence and hopefully have impact. And that's really exciting, because I need my tribe. I need colegas. I need.
That's a change you've seen since
Yes,
you were young.
yeah. I think it's a society overall, but it's wonderful to see it in Fort Worth, and being in the close proximity of Dallas. A lot of change, really great change is happening. I'm seeing that coming out of actually the SMU campus, because they're bringing in people from New York City, like the former executive director, founder of the Hip Hop Theater Festival. He is now, Clyde Valentin is now on staff at SMU, and he's doing a lot of work with bringing like hip hop theater and urban culture and art to a place where it's regarded, and there are scholars writing about it, and there's funding for it in the community, so artists can be brought in and to work with the students on campus. Those are movements that are incredible. And something that I've seen at the TCU campus is the work of John Singleton, which I think he's one of the little-known gifts to the planet, from the TCU community, and he hosts the weekly Kino Monda International Film Series. And with that Wednesday night weekly event, he is opening up so many minds, the attendees that are present. They get to watch international films. He's often bringing in folks, the directors, producers of these films, and they're telling us about the work they're doing on the ground. So it's a really great kind of activism through cinema that he's facilitating on that campus at TCU. There's more I could talk about, but I think I'm running out of time for now.
Well, thank you for sharing those. And just thank you, we hadn't gotten that perspective yet in our oral history interviews of